throws you right back in your seat. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the video. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Now today I am really excited to be here behind the wheel of the all-new 2026 Hyundai IONIQ 9. Here in the US, we've been waiting for a fully electric three-row SUV from Hyundai for quite a while now, so it is finally here. And I haven't even seen any of these out on the road yet, so that makes it even cooler for me to be able to drive this. So keeping it for an entire week. So big thank you to Hyundai. Haven't seen too many videos of other people driving it on the internet either. So this is like really fresh. And this one I have here is the limited trim level. So that's underneath the calligraphy and then the calligraphy design. But even with this being 2 trim levels below the top, it is considerably well equipped. All right, so enough about that. Let's get into it. First, starting off with the ride quality, the suspension of the IONIQ 9, it's soft. I mean, really soft. This has McPherson struts up in the front with coil springs, and then in the back we have a 5-point independent multi-link rear suspension. A few months back, I drove the 2025 Palisade, the fully loaded calligraphy. This is even a smoother ride than that. This vehicle was designed with comfort as a top priority. Not just in the engineering of how it drives, but also with all the furnishings here in the interior as well. The ride of the IONIQ 9 easily rivals luxury cars, which for the price, it should. Not only in how smooth the ride is, but also how incredibly quiet it is. This IONIQ 9 limited trim has acoustic laminated glass on the windshield, the 2 front windows, and the 2 windows in the second row as well. It is incredibly quiet, but that's also amplified by the fact that this is a fully electric vehicle. The EV sounds are pretty subdued. Potholes, bumps in the road, they really don't matter. And this is riding on 21-inch wheels with the tire having a 45 series sidewall, so that's more than thick enough to not have to worry about having your tire blow out from hitting too big a pothole or damaging the wheel or anything like that. This is also riding on tires specifically made for EVs. With this car being 6,000 pounds, that's definitely important. These tires also have noise reduction technology, so that makes the ride even quieter. And vibration from the tires are also virtually non-existent. All right, next let's talk about some power figures. This has a 110 kilowatt hour battery. This limited trim level gets you the dual motor setup with all-wheel drive, so there are 2 157 kilowatt motors, one up in the front, one in the rear, and together they put out 422 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. And this has a direct drive 1-speed transmission. This can do 0 to 60 in just under 5 seconds. It's rated at 4.9, and we are going to do an acceleration test in just a little bit. But before we do, real quick, I do want to talk about range and charging. So in this configuration, this has a range of up to 311 miles. And Hyundai gives charging times for various different levels of charging. So first we have the AC level 2, which is basically the kind that you'd have installed at your house. It's not fast charging, but it is a 240 volt platform as opposed to a standard 120 that you'd find in your house. That can charge from 10% to 100 in 9 hours and 40 minutes. So obviously that is not fast charging, but that's one of those scenarios where you just plug it in overnight, go to bed, and then unplug it in the morning. This does have an NACS connection that is compatible with Tesla's supercharging network. And using a NACS V3 supercharger, that can charge from 10 to 80% in about 40 minutes. You can also use a CCS adapter, which this does come with. So using a 50 kilowatt CCS adapter, this can charge from 10 to 80% in an hour and 49 minutes. And this is also DC ultra fast charging compatible using a CCS 350 kilowatt adapter. And that can charge from 10 to 80% in only 24 minutes. And the MPG equivalents are 91 in the city and 79 on the highway, 85 combined. And this also has a battery preconditioning system for those colder winter months. And before we head into the acceleration test, let's go over the drive modes. The drive mode selector is right here. You can see them come up here on the gauge cluster. We have Eco, Normal, Sport, and My Drive. And My Drive, what that does is it lets you customize different parameters like steering and powertrain to have it just how you want. And beyond the normal drive modes, we also have a terrain mode, which you can see here, for snow, mud, and sand. So for this acceleration test, we are going to throw it in Sport. Like I said, 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds. And that's especially crazy for a vehicle that weighs 6,000 pounds. And that 516 pound-feet of torque, it hits you all at once. All right, so going into our acceleration test, I'm gonna come to a complete stop up here. We are gonna be going slightly uphill, and I am gonna try to brake torque it just a little bit. And come to a complete stop, brake torque it. Throws you right back in your seat. And 60. Now, interestingly enough, there is a little bit of a delay right off the rip. But as soon as that torque kicks in, it throws you right back in your seat and it just launches. It is a different story once you're already in motion. Then it is absolutely instantaneous. From a dead stop, it does take a moment to get going, but once it does, the acceleration, it's not as dramatic as the IONIQ 5N, which I also had as a press car a little while ago. But that's also a much smaller car than this. Having 3 rows and 6,000 pounds being able to do this is mind-boggling. And like I said earlier, this prioritizes comfort. So in terms of having like sporty driving dynamics, the only thing you could really call sporty would be the acceleration. The other things like steering and handling I'll talk about in a little bit, but I do kind of want to briefly foreshadow that. If you're looking for something sporty, this is fast, yes, but it's not sporty. But there are rumors that an IONIQ 9N could be coming out in the future, so we can keep our fingers crossed and hope for that. Alright, now time to take this out on the highway. And now watch what happens when I put my foot down. Sheesh. That's freaky, man. I mean, I've driven plenty of EVs at this point. I should be used to it, but it's just unnatural. So using the acoustic glass, they've done a great job with completely eliminating wind noise. That 100%, like, usually you get it right here at the top of the window. No wind noise at all. But there is a little bit of road noise from vehicles around that does creep its way in, but not much. As you can see, like, I'm not yelling. And of course, you still get those harmonic sounds that you get whenever you go over bridges. Like right there. Now hopefully traffic will open up a bit more further up. But even at higher speeds, it's still incredibly comfortable, and those bumps in the road still eats them up very well. All right. It just gets up to speed so effortlessly. It's crazy. This also has the turn signal camera on both sides, which I'm a huge fan of. That's something I wish every car had. But even on this limited trim level, you get it. You don't have to step all the way up to the calligraphy design for that. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and try out the adaptive cruise control system. So first things first, make sure lane keep assist is turned on, and then set your speed. Let's see, we got it at 65 miles an hour. It's set at distance marker number 2, so I guess in theory that's 2 car lengths behind the vehicle in front of you. Alright, no foot on the gas or brake or the wheel. Now I am going to have to put my hands on the wheel at some point soon because it wants to make sure that you're still there for whatever reason. Okay, there's the warning, so at least it's not overly annoying and overbearing with the warning, because some other brands like Toyota, the warning is incessant and it's really annoying. Okay, we're doing good so far. I am going to lower the speed a bit. My biggest complaint with these systems is always that it takes turns too quickly. So let's see how it does up here with this turn. Because the radars, they prioritize obstacles and objects, but not... Okay, look at that. Alright. That did pretty good. Usually that specific turn right there, that's like my real test to see how the lane centering maintains once you get into a sharper turn. That one did it really well. And I found Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis to have, you know, among the better adaptive cruise control systems with the, you know, the highway assist in the business. And their main competitors like Honda and Toyota, I don't think their cruise control systems are anywhere near as good. And I'm gonna switch lanes. All right. But yeah, Hyundai's cruise control systems are among my favorite. I always enjoy using them. Now, other Hyundai systems I've used did great with stop and go traffic, braking, accelerating. Right now, we're kind of just, oh, there's the warning. We're kind of just cruising, no real traffic. But even at the points where it does need to slow down and speed up, does it very seamlessly. So this is a fantastic cruise control system. I really don't have anything bad to say about it. This 2026 Hyundai IONIQ 9 Limited has a 14-speaker Bose audio system. So let's take a listen. So recently, I've driven a lot of Hyundais with Bose audio systems, and they've been kind of hit or miss. Some are good, some are bad. This one is somewhere in the middle. In terms of actual sound quality, I mean, the clarity is pretty good. It's not bad. My issue with it is in the tuning, but also in the level of power. So the way it's tuned with all the levels set to 0, the bass is very flat, so I actually have it turned up a notch. But even just turning it up 1 notch then kind of makes it slightly overbearing. So it's like a tiny bit too bassy now, even though I only turned it up 1 notch. There is a surround sound feature for it, but if you watch my videos, you know I'm just not a huge fan of spatial audio and that stuff, so I usually always have that turned off. And then the other issue has to do with the power, where you can't really turn the volume all that high before the sound kind of gets a bit drowned out. That heavy bass, it's there at lower volumes, but once you turn it up a bit, then the sound becomes more flat again and kind of hollow. So the system is a lot better at lower volumes than at higher volumes. Alright, so now we are out here at the back roads to test out the steering and the handling of the all-new IONIQ 9. And as I meant... Jesus fucking Christ. As I mentioned earlier, this IONIQ 9 really does not have sporty driving dynamics. The steering, while it is nice and precise, it's very numb. You don't really feel any kind of feedback, and it kind of just feels like overly computerized, but it still works very well. And as far as handling, well, SUV, 6,000 pounds, you can kind of imagine how it is, right? But one thing that is good about all that weight is that the vehicle isn't overly tall, so the weight sits pretty low, especially with the batteries and the motors in the vehicle sitting pretty low too. So body roll isn't too big of a concern. There is just a little bit, but this really doesn't feel like it's gonna be prone to rolling over too easily. And between the different drive modes, let's see, when I put it in sport, it gets ever so slightly tighter, but not much. But I will say the weight of the steering I do like. It is somewhat heavy in sport. Now when I put it back into, let's see, eco, lightens up ever so slightly. But still, in any drive mode you have it, the weight feels pretty nice. Now in terms of responsiveness, yeah, you can really feel the weight of the vehicle when you do this. I'm being kind of thrown back and forth, so I don't think I'd recommend doing that. But response time is definitely not slow. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the braking. So this does have regenerative braking using the paddle shifters here. It has 4 different levels of regenerative braking, so now I have it on max. Can you use this for one pedal driving? I would say no, because even on level 4, it does roll for quite a bit before coming to a complete stop, so I don't think that would work too well in stop and go traffic. But if you want to have it on just for the purpose of prolonging your range, then by all means, I think it's definitely good to use. I find it to be just a little bit frustrating to use because when you first let your foot off, it brakes pretty hard, but then it still slowly rolls for quite a while. You can put it onto level 0 and that is no regenerative braking whatsoever. That's what I like to leave it on, but the one thing that is a little frustrating, I personally like to leave it on 0. But one thing to note, every time you restart the car, it defaults back to level 1. It will be on level 1 when you start the car. So the MSRP of this 2026 Hyundai IONIQ 9 Limited is $74,300. I want to give another huge thank you to Hyundai for sending me this IONIQ 9 to keep for an entire week so that I can give you guys the most thorough review possible. And also, this is like relatively early access, so I'm really grateful for that too. Like I said, I've yet to see one of these out on the road yet. I know they are on sale now, but haven't seen it yet. So please let me know your thoughts on the IONIQ 9 down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please share with a friend and subscribe. It'll really help the channel grow. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos. And be sure to follow @Optical Automotive on TikTok and Instagram, and check out the page on Facebook. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys later.